Hello, everyone. Welcome to this week's edition of Never Alone Live. We are so excited to be here. As usual, we have Krista, the sober Barbie. I'm Johnny, and today we are very fortunate to have a new friend with us, Glynis Franz, that I pronounced correctly. Thank you very much. And Glynis owns Peak Path Health. That's difficult to say real fast. Peak Path Health.
PPH, the peak. We call it the peak for short.
Hang on, let me write that down. I'm definitely going to call it PPH from now on. And you're also a podcaster, and your podcast is called The Peak of Possibility.
Yeah,
Look at
a lot
me.
of
I'm
keys.
hit. Look at, I took all these notes. You better watch out when I start
Well,
taking
we
notes.
now have words for the P Day when we do our ABCs of recovery. So
Yes.
There you go.
We do. So our big thing is we do the TikTok stuff, right? And every morning we go on, and we've been playing the recovery alphabet, and we bring up the letter, and everybody has to pick a word and then describe what it means to their recovery. Today we're on the letter N, and I'm telling you, I couldn't even think of any like N words. What is everybody gonna say for it? We were on there for 2 hours, and
Yeah.
it was so awesome. And people brought up, nurture. How do how does that feel in your recovery? It's so awesome. And it's like we 2 hours, and it's like 30 different people with 30 different words. It's like 30 meetings at once. It's
Right.
awesome. It's awesome. But I digress. Glynis has 6.5 years of sobriety and a recovery. And so proud of you in that. So let's jump into it. Let's tell us about Glynis.
Tell us about Glynis. Well, I am 6.5 years sober. I will be 7 if I make it on September 20th. I come from a lot of, I don't know, dysfunctional family. A lot of alcoholism and addiction in my family. I spent a lot of years in and out of like jails and institutions and detoxes and treatment facilities, and it just was in and out and in and out and in and out for a long time, like 43 of them. I went to 43 detoxes. And
Hang on. That 43 different detoxes? Or did you go to the same one over and over?
Some of them were the same ones. It wasn't one detox. There was a couple, but yeah, there was a couple that I went to 4 or 5, 6 times. Yeah, I was really in and out, but I never was really committed. I think what I thought was if I just checked myself in for like 5, 6, 7 days and was like finally physically separated from the substances I was using, then I would be okay. But everywhere I went, I brought myself, and I would end up in the same cycle. And I wasn't really willing to change. At least for me, it was like everything. I had to change truly everything: how I saw the world, my perspective, the people in my life, and eventually I ended up incarcerated for the last time, and I got out and still didn't have intentions of staying sober. But I guess the universe had other plans for me, and I got really active in a recovery community, and I changed everything in my life: people, places, things, ideas, perspective. Got in touch with God and spirituality, and my life changed as a result. And then it just like really picked up. Like things. I went from like being a federal felon, you know what I mean? That went by my street name, Boston, which is pretty ironic because I'm not even from Boston. That's how delusional I was. I'm from Worcester. I'm from Worcester, Massachusetts, which is like a lot less like cool. I didn't choose the street name Worcester for a reason. But yeah, I ended up just having a whole new experience and like getting this opportunity to help so many people, and like finding this passion and like altruism and service to others. And yeah, that's Glynis in a nutshell, I guess.
Dang, I hate when I'm on mute. I say the best things when I'm on mute. Dude, that's so that we talk about this a lot. We've had a lot of different people on here with a lot of different stories. And livers, lawyers, and lovers. Those are the three L's that bring a lot of people to recovery. And all three of us, Krista woke up in a jail cell. You woke up in a jail cell. I woke up in a jail cell. Thank goodness for those jail cells, because they
Mhm.
eventually led us to that gift of desperation, which led us to where we are today.
Yeah,
Good
no,
time out.
totally agree. I mean, to be honest, I had been in and out of trouble for years. So I, I do want to say, like, yes, for sure, being in prison for like a decent period of time helped me get sober. But I don't think that that's the reason that I'm sober, because if that was the reason, I would have gotten sober the other 10 times I was in jail.
Right.
Um, I was locked up as a kid for like 2 years, like as a juvie, and that was my first time getting sober. So, yes, incarceration helped me get separated long enough where I had a little bit of clarity to like maybe see how my life looked and not be happy with it. But it required, a lot of work after that. It was so much more than that.
It's amazing. So I'm gonna jump over to the comments for a second, because a couple of our friends that you're friends with are here. That were people that were at Freedom Fest. So Glynis was at Freedom Fest. She spoke at Freedom Fest. She was on one of our panels. And our friend Lauren is here right now, and Katie, who was here, who you met both of them. And then Katie, who works with Never Alone Recovery, she just said hello. They all knew you were coming today, so they're all
Oh,
chiming in. So this
nice.
is awesome. We're bringing
Hi.
the family back together,
Hey, getting the band back together again. Yeah.
getting the band back together. So let's talk more about the gift of desperation, and because you were in lots of different detoxes, you were in lots of different cells. What was that last one? What was the difference between that last one and all the others?
Mm. Hmm. I think the difference between the last time was, if I'm being honest, I was not sober my first year in prison. It wasn't until the last few months that I sobered up. Um, the last, like, 5, 6 months. And when I got out, I just remember everything was just so overwhelming. Like, like I needed a job, I needed money, I didn't have a phone, I didn't have insurance. It was just like things were piling up. And I was so stressed out and anxious and overwhelmed. I think maybe 2 or 3 days after I got out, this last time, is really when like my like bottom really hit. Because I think the bottom is like an internal thing, it's not external. Like, again, like you can get sober and hit your bottom in, a beach in Malibu, you know, or you can get sober and hit a bottom in a jail cell. And the feelings are exactly the same, just like the outside circumstances might be different, but the feelings are the same. And like for me, it was like, okay, I got out, I was 3 days out, and like the realization came that I had a couple months sober. I was on federal parole. I had to drug test very regularly. If I mess this up even one time, I'm going to go back to jail 100%. And finish my 36-month sentence. And I like really wanted to have a drink. Yeah, like 3 days out of federal prison, and I was like, I need a drink. You know what I mean? And for me, it always starts with a drink, but it doesn't typically end with a drink. That's just my story. Like my delusion is always like I can drink normally, but like I need to stay away from the hard stuff. But that just never works for me. Like once I drink, I end up, doing all the other things. And so I had this realization after being out for a few days, when like the dust had settled and like the excitement had like really hit me, that like I was no longer in jail. And I just wanted to have a drink so bad. And I just had a moment of clarity where it was like, oh, if I drink, I'm gonna get loaded. And if I get loaded, I'm gonna die. Like, and this had probably been true for a very long time. And I'd maybe had other moments of realization similar to this, but the difference between this moment was that I like knew in the depths of my soul that it wasn't a matter of if I was going to get loaded, it was a matter of when. And I was so clear that there was no chance that I was going to be able to manage and control it. And I just didn't want to die, and I didn't want to go back to prison. And so instead of getting loaded, like I had the hundreds of other times I had had similar thoughts, I asked like the only sober person that was like in that environment I was in for help. And that guy introduced me to a woman, and that woman, I had no idea. I didn't know anything about her. It was like the middle of COVID. It was like the height of quarantine. And I talked to her, and I was just willing to believe that she had felt the same way I'd felt, even though our stories were really different. And that I could hear in her voice that she like had found like genuine happiness and peace. I didn't think it was possible to be sober and happy at the same time. And so I started to do what she told me to do. And just because I had tried everything else, I had tried being on the clinic, I had tried being on, Suboxone, I had tried going to the psychiatrist to get like medication for my anxiety and depression. I had gone to detoxes. I had gone to, I had done all the things. I tried green smoothies. I had moved from state to state. I had tried sober boyfriends that were you know, good guys. I mean, none of it had worked. I'm like, well, I've tried everything else. I might as well just take some direction from somebody who is living like a sober life. So
That's amazing. Okay, I want to go back for a second. Now, normally when we're talking, I'm a big fan of timelines, right? Here's where we were, here's what happened, and now we're moving on here. But I was never in prison, right? I know a lot of people that were. And you said your first year in prison that you stayed, how did you go about? Now, this isn't the Ian Bick show, so we're not going to focus on prison, but Ian Bick, if you're listening, Glynis should be on your show. If how do you get high in prison? And I know, I mean, if I can go watch a movie right now, but I mean, I got you talking, so might as well ask the real questions.
yeah. Well, when I first came in, I still had some stuff on me. Where the sun, I hate it where the sun doesn't shine.
Very convenient. Very convenient.
Yeah. The old prison pocket. And
I've never heard that term.
And then it was not very much. And so depending on where I was, so I was in federal prison, and I was right in San Diego. And because we were close to the border, there was a lot of girls coming in that were like body carriers meaning they were walking across the border with, shit in them. And there was a couple times that they would get caught, and they would, get all the stuff from them, but they would like miss one. A woman's body is a wild thing, you know what I mean? And they would like miss like an ounce of, well, they were not bringing it in grams. They were bringing in like, 10, 11, 12 ounces in their body. So that happened a few times. And then once you actually get to like the place that you end up staying, like there's a camp. And so at the camp, there were like workers, and people would throw things over the fence, and like the workers would pick it up. But also we would make pruno. And so I was a kitchen worker. And when you work in the kitchen, you can get like fruit and yeast and like different things to make pruno, which is like prison wine. It's terrible. And so, it wasn't like a daily thing, but like when it was available, we would do it. Yeah.
Very interesting. I'm telling you, it's so funny. So Katie, who's on here right now, is an office over from me, and after you said prison pockets, I could hear her laughing in the other room. So this is tremendous so far. I think we might, if we record this and put this out on a podcast level on YouTube or something, I think we should title it "Prison Pockets" and just keep it at that.
Oh my God.
I'm telling you,
I've heard a lot of people's addictions start in prison. It's easy to get what you need over there, and
It depends on where you are too. And then a lot of people will go in. I mean, I know people will go in and certain states and certain prisons, they'll like allow like Suboxone, for example. And they'll people that'll go in there and they just don't want to accept their circumstances and be present. And so they won't even necessarily be an opiate addict, but they'll say they're an opiate addict so they can have Suboxone, and then they'll be getting high off the Suboxone. Then by the time they get out, they have an opiate habit. You know what I mean? Yeah, it's pretty crazy. The last few months, the only reason that I dried up is because COVID happened and we were like on 24/7 lockdown. So it wasn't really by choice for me. It was like circumstances that like it was like there was no there was no leaving the cell, there was no working, there was nobody was coming in or going out, there was no movement. So really just like circumstances for a few months kind of got me to a place where I ended up drying out.
Well, we're glad you did. And I'm going to jump over to the comments for a second because Danielle McCullum checking in from Naples, Florida, says, just coming off a relapse. I have 9 days today after 4 years clean. Well, first off, Danielle, congratulations on your
9 days is huge.
9 days
Congrats.
is congratulations. We're so glad you're here to hear Glynis's story. You know, we share stories of experience, strength, and hope. And the hope is the key. The hope is the key. Glynis has 6.5 years of sobriety, and where she's telling her story right now about, you know, all the things that happened. And, you know, we all reach our bottoms at different stages. And whatever happened after 4 years clean that made you go back out, you know, your story is still your story, and it's going to help people eventually, because if you can be an example of getting sober, you can be an example of starting over. So congratulations on starting over again. We're proud of you.
Yeah, that's amazing. Coming back after a relapse, especially after like a period of sobriety, is like much harder than I would have imagined, because I got sober for the first time when I was super young, for like 2.5 years when I was like 16 years old. Um, and it took me years to come back, years, because there was a lot of shame, and embarrassment and like self-hatred, which was all just like stuff I had put on myself. And then I remember when I finally did come back and started to really do the work, I was willing to do all the things that I hadn't been willing to do previously. And so I think the experience of having relapsed and just I was cherry picking some of the stuff like, I'll do this. I'll go to some, recovery meetings, but I'm not going to do that. Like, I'm not going to make the coffee. Oh, I'll do this, but like, pray. I don't know about that. Meditation. No, it's okay. I believe in it, but and I had all these things that I was like cherry picking. And when I came back and finally got involved in recovery again and really actually did it rather than just like solicit, this is just my experience. I stayed sober. Craziest thing. And I've been sober since. Like
It's
I
amazing
just did
what
everything.
happens. It's amazing what happens when we actually take the suggestions and don't pick and choose our recovery. You know, it is amazing.
Yeah.
So Daniel in the comments says, I have my own definite story of rock bottom, 129-24. Congratulations, Daniel. Still going. Can't stop, won't stop. Keep going, brother. I love that. I love that, love that, love that. But our friend Danielle in here, who's talking about her relapse. Now, it took you a few times, right, Glynis? It took you a few times.
It took me a lot of times. Yeah.
And she said a big comment, emotional relapse, because the drinking and the drugs are but a symptom, right? It's it's this up here that goes crazy, that tells me that drinking and drugs are the solution. And so that emotional relapse, let's talk about this for a second. We're going to look at, I'm telling you, you never know what's going to happen when I'm Never Alone Live. Look at, I got a little animated there. But let's talk about emotional relapse, because I've been sober 22 years. I've never picked up since my first meeting. But I have emotionally relapsed a dozen times, but I've never picked up, and because of that I've been able to get past things. But let's talk about emotional relapse for a second. Glynis, what's your take on this, on putting these two words together? I'm telling you, it just blew up in my head.
Yeah. I mean, it reminds me of the opposite, which is emotional sobriety, right? And it's kind of what I was talking to when that first time getting sober. I was physically separated, but I was like pretty anxious, miserable, unhappy, didn't have like the sense of community I needed. And so what I thought was that being sober meant that you were miserable. And it turns out that is an option too. Like you can be sober and miserable, but who wants to stay sober if they're irritable and discontent? Like it's not a sustainable solution, right? Like the time is going to come where eventually, at least for me, I'm either going to off myself or I'm going to get loaded, or maybe the two combined into one, off myself by getting loaded. And so I really, had to look at like what my life could look like sober, and how I could live a life where I'm not like holding on by a thread, you know what I mean? Like white knuckling it. Like it turns out that like if I really apply some of these like spiritual principles to my life, that I could have like both a life that is like happy, joyous, free, and also sober, which doesn't mean that bad stuff doesn't happen. Like
Say it again
bad
louder for the people in the back.
it doesn't mean that bad stuff won't happen. It doesn't mean that I won't have adversity or get fired from jobs or have breakups or losses or, fill in the blank. I mean, I even know people in sobriety who have been incarcerated, right? Bad stuff can happen, right? I think the difference is I got to a place where I had so much faith and I was so connected to my community and showing up for other people, and just like so much faith in like a power greater than myself, that regardless of my outside circumstances, they no longer had to dictate my actions, right? Like because I had lived my life for such a long time with the belief that like my outside circumstances needed to change in order for me to feel okay. And it turns out like honestly the most profound experiences I've had with spirituality and peace has been when I was in pain, because I've chose to like really lean deeper into that faith. But if we don't get the opportunity to lean deeper in that faith and go deeper into service to others, and get even more connected, double up when things are hard, right? Then I find myself trying to manage it on my own. And the problem is like as an addict and an alcoholic, me managing my life is the main problem. And it usually ends with me managing it by managing the symptoms of all of this discomfort with getting loaded.
Man, Glennis. So we have Megan. Megan is our producer, and she's in the background right now. And she's just commented, drop a heart if you can relate to this. I want to see all these hearts. I want to see everybody that can relate to emotional relapse. If this is hitting home for you, I want to know about it. We want to know about it. So drop those little hearts in there, because JoJo's already on there. Look at JoJo's already on there. And Casey's already on there. Lee Ellen, Danielle, this is emotional relapse. We don't talk, the when it comes to recovery, we talk about the addiction, we talk about the drugs, we talk about the alcohol, but we need to talk about these mental health problems. We need to talk about anxiety, depression, PTSD. We need to normalize this, right? So I'm telling you, Danielle, thank you for putting those two words in the comment, because you've got me going crazy now. Emotional relapse. Krista, what do you think? Look at Krista's on mute. She says great things when she's on mute.
Sorry,
Krista.
my kids are about to make me have an emotional relapse. No, I'm just kidding. I said 1 hour. But I can relate a lot to that. I've just celebrated 10 years sober, and I think around the 8-year mark, it was like 6 to 8. I was white knuckling it, because I mean, I got sober with that big blue book and the 12 steps, and I live those steps every day. It's a lifestyle. But there was somewhere where I got stuck. I don't know. I felt like I was hitting the ceiling, and there was like no more to look forward to. I was like hit the limit. And then all of a sudden I was introduced to a different recovery path, and it was faith centered, and it kind of opened my spiritualness or spirituality a lot more, and I was able to dig deeper and heal a lot more, and I've gotten to a lot of the real root of what led me to my drinking, and yeah, I can really relate to that.
I also think too, like part of being like not just sober, but in recovery is to not look at, and some of us have some outside stuff, many of us, depression, anxiety, PTSD, medication needs, all this stuff. And being just physically sober is not being in a state of recovery. If it was that simple, we wouldn't all be working programs. We would just like stop getting loaded and like life would be good. And all of a sudden we'd be able to be good parents and spouses and good employees and all this stuff. But that's just not true for me, because when I stop drinking and using, my life gets worse, definitely not better, because I cannot manage. And so to not treat all of these other things and seek support for other areas is to not be in recovery, right? And it looks different for everyone. Like to not take care of our bodies is like, that's not a very recovered lifestyle, right? To not like love ourselves and treat our body as a temple. So I think it's really just like not like a one size fits all. And I also think that like the longer you're sober, the more that you have to reach to like kind of connect with this power and expand and be open-minded and willing to try new things. There's so many different paths to like spiritual connection, community, and fellowship. 12 steps are being an option. Celebrate Recovery, more faith-based programs. They have Refuge Recovery here in Los Angeles, which is like around Buddhist practices, and it's just not like a one size fits all. And sometimes something that works for a while needs to be expanded upon the longer we're sober.
Dude, it's so I have horrible eyes, right? And I'm trying to read comments and talk about it. And Danielle's become my favorite person today. Danielle with her 9 days sober, and I'm so proud of her. I struggle with the spiritual aspect of it all. I believe in a higher power, but I fail to feel the connection. And so I'm sitting back because I have to come all the way up here. So if you see my ugly face, that's why I'm trying to read your comments. But if I'm way back here, so I read, I'm between higher powers right now.
Yeah.
And you know what? I'm telling you, I've been there. I've been between, it's like I come into the program and I work 12 steps, and, they told me I had to have a higher power, and I didn't like anything about the higher power that I was raised with, being raised Catholic. I didn't like that one. And they told me I could make up my own. And the groups became my higher power for a long time. And then it evolved into the kind of a spirit of the universe. And then it evolved again but it's funny how God shows himself at just the right time, when God doesn't, drop us down or doesn't pick us up just to let us fall again. Right. And God reveals himself when we're at our lowest, because that's when we need him the most. And it's amazing.
When we seek him, right? We have to seek it out.
Seek
it.
God couldn't would if he were sought. But I'm sitting back here trying to read, and I said I'm between higher powers right now. I think that should be a meme. That should definitely be a meme. I'm between higher powers right now.
I'm just dating, sussing it out. Exactly.
I mean, it does. It evolves so much. As fast as addiction and what's out there is evolving, recovery and how you are reaching your recovery evolves. Like, I don't my spirituality like evolved so much.
Yeah, for me, the whole spiritual higher power thing was not why I got into this process. It was definitely not what I was looking for at all. But I had tried everything else. And the thing that brought me to a place of being willing to even consider this idea and start to take actions to try and connect to this power was the wholehearted belief that can I swear? No?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. That I was wholeheartedly fucked and I was going to get high. Like, I was so clear in the depths of my soul that I was going to get high and that there was nothing I could do to stop it, that it wasn't out of altruism or like virtue that I decided to give this higher power thing a try, it was out of pure desperation. And I didn't even think it was going to work. And like, it was just the willingness, because I was so clear that if I didn't, I was not going to be able to stay sober. And I had all of this evidence of other people who had told me the same thing over and over again. I'm like, meh, 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 yeah, whatever. But like, I couldn't deny the reality and the facts in front of me that like they were living a life and they had definitely been through some of the same things I'd been through, and they had been just as fucked as me. So it was really just like it started with just like kind of like a mustard seed of willingness, and it grew from there. And I also found myself looking outside of myself, like, oh, if I get the job, then I'll be okay. If I lose 10 pounds, then I'll be okay. If I have a really nice partner, or like a hot boyfriend, then I'll be okay. Or like if I have the new car, and if my credit score gets up, and all these things actually like started to happen. You know, I started to get these things. That's not true for everybody, but, and I still didn't feel connected to this power. It was always the next thing I was looking for. And what I like missed the entire time was that this idea of like God or spirituality is not outside of me either. Just like the problem, like the problem is within, the solution is within, and always has been. I had just been like, my spiritual like mentor calls it a pipe, right? She says like we have this pipe, it's like inside of us, and what happens is like the fear, the resentment, the things, the money, the credit score, the all these things, the jobs, they like clog this pipe. All of these things that I'm dealing with, these life things, and the only way that I can connect to this power that's actually already within me, not outside of me, is by clearing out this pipe, with all the things that have been blocking me. And that doesn't mean I don't have to like strive to have goals and have a good life, but it means that that's not actually the solution to what I suffer from. And so if I can connect to this power that's within me, and for me, it's just a vibe, man. It's an energy.
It's a
There's
vibe,
a
man.
difference between,
It's a
yeah,
vibe,
there's a
man.
difference between belief and reliance. And I got to a place where there was
Yeah.
reliance on this energy that I believed that was within me, because when I sought out this power and took the actions to really like make a connection when I was suffering, like things were okay. And it really grew from there. And every time I had a little bit more evidence that this idea of like spiritual connection worked, it just furthered my connection to this power. But it just started like this. It was tiny.
Yeah. You got to believe to receive.
Believe to receive. So I love everybody in the comments. Tracy's here. Love you, Tracy. Carly's here. Our boy Kendall Ray, who you met, and he's here. He wasn't here. He's walking right now for mental health, and we love Kendall. Nikki is here. Our friend Nikki from Arizona is here. Belle Lang, as of today, I have 22 years clean and sober. Belle, congratulations on double deuces. But there was a comment by Ray. Ray said, we're talking about higher power. We're talking about spirituality. And he says service work in one comment. So it's a job, right? Service work is a job. I have a higher power I can do business with now. Man, I love that. I love that. I'm telling you, give me a good analogy all day long. And now I'm thinking of God's the boss. God's the boss.
Yeah.
I can do
We like good analogies. She's talking about the pipe and
the pipe, and now we got
God's
the
my
business.
plumber.
God's my plumber. No, that one went weird. We're not going to make.
I love her. I love her.
We might have to make a meme to that too.
That's what the title should be. God is my plumber.
God is my plumber and the prison pocket. So, and Matthew Thompson is here. Oh, Kendall is here. Kendall, we can all say hi to Kendall. Mandy's here. Mandy Gigi's here. And JoJo says Glynis is my favorite. She says that to everybody though. Glynis, don't believe a word she says.
I don't believe in that.
So when we initially started, before we started talking, we were talking to Glynis about what we were going to talk about, and we have a whole list of things. But then these good comments came in, and of course we have to digress and move all over the place. Nicole and our friend Nikki from Arizona has 3.5 years today. feeling like slipping into place, but don't want to be. So, Nikki, you are right where you're supposed to be right now. And, we've all been there. We've all been at this emotional relapse, where our mind is going places that we don't want to go. And this is where, it's times like this where I'm having a bad day, and all of a sudden I'll hear something like somebody else saying they had an emotional relapse. Damn, why are you hitting so hard today, God? That's just the way it works. But I want to talk more about what it is you're doing now. So, Glynis, you've got 6.5 years sober. You've got 7 years coming up in September, and your company that you own is Peak Path Health, PPH. Let's talk about that.
Yeah, a lot of P's. So we came up with the name Peak Path Health. We tried a lot of different peaks, okay? But everything was taken or it wasn't available. And Peak Path Health, we're an inpatient detox and residential program. Really comfortable. It's like a luxury facility, but we do accept health insurance. And it's on the peak, like on the map, it says the peak of Runyon Canyon, which is like this famous mountain and hiking area in the Hollywood Hills in Los Angeles. And so we really wanted to like have the word peak in it because it had meaning behind it. And we also really like the idea of like peak experiences. Like how can we get people to a place of like pain and suffering to, hitting their peak, like, and what is their peak? Peak in recovery, peak performance. I mean, all of these things and having these like really profound experiences. And I started this after working in the addiction treatment industry for years, with my business partner and close friend also in recovery, Dustin. And yeah, we built this like really beautiful, phenomenal facility where we really believe that you can go to a nice, comfortable setting that's like in a home. It doesn't have to feel like a hospital or a psych ward, and also get quality treatment at the same time. It doesn't have to be one or the other, because there's a lot of fancy places and the treatment is shit. And then there's a lot of really shitty looking places that offer really good treatment. And so we
That's
wanted
like
to
the
marry
place
both
I
of
went
those.
to.
Yeah, well, but for me, I was going in and out of hospital like places and I couldn't stay sober. And I don't know if it was because I wasn't willing to do the work that was required or if it was because like I wasn't really bought into the place I was at. But we really wanted to just create an environment that was healing. It's surrounded by mountains and the canyons. Beautiful location and just really clinically centered care, and we're just the first step in the road. So we're really just like building a foundation for people and setting them up for success in their next step once they leave. 30 days is the blink of an eye, although it feels like the rest of your life when you're like detoxing.
Yeah.
But the beautiful thing about detox is like, generally speaking, you know about how long it's going to last and when it's going to end. The real work starts when the detox is over. How do you stay sober, not just get sober? Yeah, the peak has been a really trying, stressful, exciting, powerful journey to start, and we're really proud of what we've built. So yeah, you can look us up at peakpathhealth.com.
Well, Megan, if you could put in Peak Path Health for us in the comments so people can actually look it up. And this is located in California?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And
we have people come from all over the country to get support, though.
This is really interesting because you said we're at our peak, and our peak just keeps going up. I love social media, and I love on like Facebook or whatever, and people put their anniversary dates, and they'll tell us, hey, today I have X amount of years, and and my comment is always just keep going. It just keeps getting better, because right when you think you're at your peak, then it goes higher and it goes higher and it goes higher. We don't know when we're going to hit our peak because that's all in God's time. And people in recovery just need to understand that God has big plans for you. He is big plans for you. And if you want to do like Glynis and want to do like Krista and recover out loud, and share your story, share your experience, strength, and hope, help some people find some hope. I'm telling you, God rewards, and that peace, that serenity, that joy, that laughter. I'm telling you, Glennis, you've made me laugh so hard today already. We're having a good time here today. And this is it's just getting better and better. And it's so motivational and so inspirational to hear your story and see what you're doing, and you're also a podcaster. And so you do this all the time, tell us about your podcast.
Yeah. So also Peak, because they're kind of sisters but not twins. The Peak of Possibility podcast is is a podcast that I created and host, where we talk about really all things recovery, addiction, mental health related. So sometimes we're interviewing people about their recovery stories. Sometimes it's therapists, dietitians, nutritionists. I mean, it's really just kind of a plethora of anything health, wellness, and recovery related, and it's been really cool. I will say I like doing my podcast, but better than I like doing other people. I like
And
interviewing
being a
people.
guest.
Yeah, but it's all good. I'm really grateful to be here, and you guys have been super easygoing. So
yeah,
that's been great.
we haven't gotten to the tough questions yet. We don't do tough questions around here. Well, the sub questions sometimes are, but that's.
Well, I like this format, I think, because usually when I do like other people's podcasts, they're like asking me about my like story, and my story stays the same, and I just get sick of hearing my own voice
Yeah.
and telling my own story.
Yeah.
Just like, aren't you guys sick of this yet? It's the same story.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've done a lot of leads, and I do a lot of leads in the same place. And there's one place in particular here where I do a lead every December for the last, I think I've been doing it for 16 years, and trying to change it up. One day, I think I went in there this past year and I said, I'm Krista and I'm an alcoholic. So I was just going to tell Krista's story. That's the way to do it.
Yeah, smart.
No, it's difficult, so I love the fact that we get comments and people are actually talking, and JoJo's in there right now making fun of me. She said Johnny loves hearing himself talk, and that's incorrect. But Ray, our friend Ray, is in Washington State. Various recovery certificates. Would love to work with anyone that needs it. Sponsorship, whatever anyone needs for nonprofit. So if anybody's looking for someone with recovery certificates, we have Ray in the comments. Go check them out. Look we get to make friends too. We're making friends today and everything.
Yeah.
Okay. So we're coming up on 45 minutes, but I got a couple of last high level fun questions. What is your favorite thing about recovery? And Krista, you're going to have to answer this too. So tell children to.
That's a hard question. What is my favorite thing about recovery? I mean, everything. It's kind of a hard question to answer. I wasn't really experiencing life until I was in recovery. I was like miserable, and everything is a blur, and I couldn't remember anything, and I had no meaningful relationships, and all of my relationships were transactional, and I couldn't hold a job, and I was always struggling financially or doing weird shit to get money. I remember when I was newly sober, how excited I was when I got my first job and I got my first check with my actual bank account that had my name on it, and I had to pay my first cell phone bill. It sounds really silly, right? But I felt so fulfilled. It built self-esteem. So I like paying bills. I'm a huge runner. I run marathons now. I get to do that, and I've convinced my husband finally to do it. So he's running his first marathon with me. I have a community of amazing women and men, but women that I'm really close with, and I get to show up for. I'm a felon who owns a business. I mean, that's crazy. You know what I mean? I just get to experience all the things in life, and that's my favorite thing about recovery, is just being present for the journey.
Being present for the journey. What an amazing answer, Glynis. Crystal, what's your favorite thing about recovery?
I think it's the network, the compassion that's in these people, and like it is an unconditional love. Like I know what conditional love looks like, and it hurts. And just to know these people love me for hearing my worst mistakes ever that I used to hide and felt shame for, and just they love me for my mistakes. And someone's always got a suggestion to be better or to help me get out of a sticky situation, or and I'm really grateful. A lot of people can't say this, but I got to become a mom after I quit drinking. So my kids have never seen mommy drunk or have to be around that toxic stuff, or like, and they're being raised in recovery, like that we help people. We make it better when we mess up. We try to fix it. And like they don't say they're sorry. I don't force them to say they're sorry. They go and try it. Like if they beat each other up, they go and they like try to make it right. And because the action's more than the words, sorry without change is manipulation. And they know that, 4 and 6 years old. So I look for the silver lining in all of it. And I think it's really bottom line love.
It's so amazing. My favorite thing about recovery is getting to help people. Being as selfish and self-centered as I was before, being able to see the light come back in people's eyes, seeing the pain diminish, even if only temporarily, because a lot of people, they come in and then they go back out, but at least they had that little bit and we planted that seed. But it was a Wednesday night about a dozen years ago, and a woman came in and she says, I'm just having trouble finding my higher power. And that Friday night, I was opening my meeting. She came early, and I'm making coffee. We're setting things up, and I said, let's talk about this higher power thing, and and talked about it. And then the next week, she came early again. We talked about it for a little bit, and then a year later, she's helping somebody else find their higher power. Dude, you want to talk about powerful? You want to talk about God working? It's just so amazing. I was introduced to a higher power that I lean on and I love and I trust, that, and it took me a long time to find it, but once I found it, man, I'm not letting go, and seeing someone else get that. So, watching other people and seeing other people recover is just so instrumental to my recovery, and the enthusiasm that we get from other people is it's amazing. When I get a new guy who wants to work the steps, wants to go to meetings, that I want to go to meetings, I want to work the steps again, and it's so crucial.
It's contagious.
It really, really is. Look, see, now we got going on tangents again. So, Glynis, dude, this has been so fantastic, and I know you're very busy, and I just want to thank you for coming out and sharing with us. Do you have anything that you want to talk to our the people that are going to watch this video? What would you want to tell them?
Two things. If you're still out and you can't get sober and you think it can't get worse, it can. Now, the other side of it is if you're either new in recovery, or even if you've had a long time sober, and things don't feel like they used to feel, it can get 100 times better. And I do really believe that recovery and getting sober is possible for anyone and everyone, that not a single person is not included in that opportunity. It just requires some pretty profound shifts in how we live and how we think and what we're willing to do, and there's work that's required, but if you're willing to do it, then it's possible for you. And that's been my experience. I was a hopeless gutter junkie. Nobody thought that I would get sober, and I just got a call from a girl that I was in high school with, that I used to get loaded with, and she did not like me, and she just called me from detox. We haven't talked in 10 years.
I just had that same thing happened to me last night.
Yeah, she called me
Wild.
from detox. I mean, yeah, she was not a fan of me, and never has been, but she's struggling, and seeing someone who was once hopeless, like, recover and have a life is inspiring to other people.
Mhm.
And getting the opportunity to put your hand out. So, recovery is possible for anyone and everyone. And I'm just grateful to be here, and appreciate you guys asking me to come and share
Dude,
some of
this is
my
so
stories.
awesome. Glynis is gonna
I
have to
love
come back.
her.
You're gonna have
Yes.
to come back more often. We're gonna have to, because I mean, this is, we call it interviews and stuff like that, but it's just conversations, and these are the conversations that need to be had. And if we can have if we have a forum to talk about them, and anybody, if we have people in the comments right now saying that this helped them today, so that's why we do this. That's what we're here for. And I want to thank everybody for coming out and listening to us today. And Glynis, thank you again for coming and sharing with us. God loves you guys, and so do we. And we will see you next week.
Yes.
Of
Thank
course.
you.
Bye, everyone.